we're introduced to Naru, a young woman whose name literally means fighter, a title she earned by constantly defying the traditional roles of her tribe. While the other women gather roots, Naru spends her days sharpening a flint knife and practicing with a tomahawk, desperate to prove she's a hunter. Her younger brother, Tob, is already a legendary marksman, his name meaning son to reflect his high standing in the camp. He tries to teach her patience, but Naru is tired of waiting for her turn. The tension between her ambition and her reality boils over during a confrontation with Wasape, a stubborn warrior and the war chief's son, who mocks her for trying to do men's work. Naru doesn't back down, reminding him that he only has his position because of his father. But it's not just the men she's fighting. It's her mother, Aruka, who tries to force her into the role of a healer. A deafening whirring noise erupts from the sky. Naru looks up and catches a fleeting glint of light, something massive tearing through the clouds, leaving a white trail in its wake. She doesn't know it yet, but the ultimate predator has just arrived on Earth. Racing back to camp, she finds the warriors in a panic. A mountain lion has snatched Puhai, one of their own, and dragged him into the woods. The aging war chief Kehitu announces that he won't be leading the rescue. It's time for the young men to earn their place. Naru sees her chance. She grabs her weapons and prepares to join the hunt, unaware that they aren't just tracking a lion. They are being watched by a nightmare they can't even see. The rescue mission begins under a shroud of dread. Naru joins Tob and the other warriors, Wasape, Hupi, Itzy, Tabu, and Paka, their faces painted with war clay, turning them into living ghosts of the forest. While the men focus on the physical trail of the lion, Naru's eyes are drawn to the anomalies. She discovers a rattlesnake, but it hasn't been eaten by a predator. It has been surgically skinned, its muscular system left behind like a macabre science experiment. Nearby, she finds a massive footprint, larger than any man, with 4 distinct claw marks. When she tries to warn the group that something far more dangerous than a lion is out there, something that scared the lion away, Wasape mocks her. He believes she's just making up stories to justify her presence. Even her brother Tob, usually her defender, is focused on the immediate threat. But as night falls, the forest begins to speak in a language only Naru seems to understand. She hears a heavy branch groan under an impossible weight and sees a shimmer in the air, a blurred outline that defies logic. The party eventually finds the lion's den, and the tension snaps. The cat lunges from the darkness, and in the chaotic struggle, Naru tries to take her shot. But as she draws her bow, the wet string snaps. The lion charges, and Naru is knocked unconscious as she falls into a ravine. When she wakes, she is alone, the warriors having moved on, believing her to be safe or perhaps just a hindrance. Determined to rejoin them, Naru and Sarai trek through the plains, where they stumble upon a literal field of nightmares. Dozens of skinned buffalo carcasses rotting in the sun. This wasn't the work of her people, who honor every part of the kill. She finds a strange metal casing, a bullet, and realizes that white men are encroaching on their lands. But as she stares at the slaughter, she doesn't realize that the thunder bird she saw earlier has finally landed. High above on a mesa, the predator is watching her. It isn't interested in the buffalo, it's looking for a challenge. It scans the ground, finding Naru's footprints, and begins the hunt for the only human who realizes the rules of the game have changed. Naru is no longer just a girl with a tomahawk. She's a predator in training, but the wild is about to remind her how unforgiving it can be. While tracking what she believes to be the thunder bird, she ventures into a deceptively calm clearing. Without warning, the ground beneath her vanishes. She stumbled into a deep, viscid mud pit, a natural death trap that begins to swallow her whole. The more she struggles, the faster the earth claims her. Within seconds, the muck is at her chest, then her neck. This is the ultimate test of her fighter's spirit. Just as the black mud reaches her lips, Naru uses her last bit of leverage to hurl her tomahawk, which is tied to a rope. It misses. She tries again, the mud filling her mouth, and finally the blade wedges into a rock. With a scream of pure desperation, she hauls her body out of the grave, emerging caked in black slime, exhausted but alive. But there's no time for rest. As she washes the grit from her eyes at a nearby stream, she spots her original quarry, a massive grizzly bear. Naru decides this is the moment she's been waiting for. She needs a great kill to be recognized as a hunter. She lures the beast into a chase, darting through the brush, but she quickly realizes she's outmatched by the bear's raw power. She retreats into a beaver dam, the massive predator tearing the structure apart to get to her. Suddenly, the bear stops. It's lifted into the air by an invisible force. Blood sprays across the water, and Naru watches in horror as the predator uncloaks, holding the 1,000-pound grizzly above its head like a trophy. It lets out a blood-curdling roar, declaring its dominance. Before she can process the horror, Naru is ambushed, not by the alien, but by her own people. Wassape and the remaining warriors find her, but they aren't there to rescue her. They're there to bring her home in shame. Wassape ties her hands, mocking her fairy tales about invisible giants. But the mockery ends when 3 glowing red dots appear on Wassape's chest. In a flash of high-tech steel, Wassape is cut down before he can even scream. The predator has found them. As the Comanche warriors are slaughtered one by one in a whirlwind of invisible blades, Naru manages to free herself, but her escape is cut short. A heavy iron weight slams shut on her leg. She's been caught in a French fur trap. As she collapses in agony, the predator looms over her, its clicking growl vibrating in the air, only to be interrupted by the sound of clicking muskets. A small army of French voyageurs has arrived. Naru wakes up in a nightmare. Her leg is mangled from the trap, and she's being dragged through the dirt like a carcass. Her captors are a group of grizzled French fur trappers, the same men who slaughtered the buffalo. They don't see her as a person, they see her as a tool. Their leader, a man known as Big Beard, realizes that Naru and her brother Tob, who has also been captured, are the only ones who have seen the demon in the woods. And they're going to use Naru and Tob as live bait to lure it into a killing field. Tied to a lone tree in a burnt-out glade, Naru and Tob are left exposed, while the trappers hide in holes in the ground, muskets aimed and ready. In this moment of certain death, the sibling rivalry vanishes. Tob looks at his sister and finally admits the truth. The men of the tribe were wrong about her. They were intimidated by her strength, not her gender. But before they can reconcile, the air shimmers. The predator arrives, but it doesn't walk into their trap. It dismantles it. What follows is a literal massacre. The trappers' black powder muskets are useless against the aliens' advanced tech. Amidst the chaos, Naru realizes she has to do the unthinkable to survive. Remembering a beaver she once saw pinned by a rock, she tells Tob that sometimes, to be free, you have to lose a limb. She uses a heavy stone to trigger a bear trap right onto the ropes binding their wrists, the metal jaws snapping the cord and setting them free just as the glade turns into a river of blood. Naru flees into the woods, but she isn't just running anymore. She finds a dying trapper named Raphael and notices something strange. The predator walks right past him as if he's invisible. She looks at the orange totems from her medicine pouch she gave Raphael for his pain and realizes the orange petal's lower body temperature. The monster doesn't see the ice, it sees heat. And in the center of the carnage, Naru and Tob are finally reunited. But there is no time for a peaceful reunion. The predator is no longer just hunting, it's purging. As the invisible demon systematically dismantles the remaining trappers, Tob and Naru manage to break their bonds, but they aren't out of the woods yet. In a moment of pure, selfless heroism, Tob realizes that they cannot both escape. He looks at his sister, the girl he once told to be patient, and sees the true warrior she has become. He tells her to run, to survive, and to tell their story. What follows is a heartbreaking stand. Tob, the son of his tribe, burns at his brightest as he faces the predator head-on. He manages to land several strikes, even knocking the alien's mask loose, proving that this god can indeed bleed. But the predator's technology is too overwhelming. In a devastating sequence, the alien uses its spear to impale Tob, ending the life of the tribe's greatest champion. From the shadows, Naru watches her brother fall, her silent screams swallowed by the forest. But she doesn't run out of fear anymore. She runs with a purpose. Naru returns to the French camp and finds the lead trapper, Big Beard, who has survived the initial massacre but is badly wounded. She doesn't save him, she uses him. She gives him the same orange medicinal herbs she used on the earlier victim, knowing it will drop his body temperature. As the predator approaches, it walks right past the shivering Frenchman as if he's a piece of furniture. Naru watches from the brush, her eyes narrowing as she confirms her theory. The monster sees heat, not shapes. She swallows a massive dose of the herbs herself, her muscles convulsing as her internal temperature plummets. She is now a ghost in the machine. As the predator executes the trapper, Naru steps into the light, inches away from the beast, completely invisible to its thermal sensors. She raises a stolen flintlock pistol, aims it at the back of the creature's head, and pulls the trigger. The flintlock blast echoes through the trees, but the predator is no ordinary beast. Despite the point-blank shot, the alien survives, its mask shattered and its bioluminescent green blood splattered across the forest floor. The creature is enraged, but Naru is no longer the scared girl from the beginning of our story. She has spent the last few days observing, learning, and dissecting its every move. She knows its weapons better than humans. Naru lures the predator into the same boggy marshland where she nearly drowned earlier. She moves with the fluidity of a ghost, her body temperature suppressed by the herbs, making her invisible to the alien's high-tech HUD. The predator, frustrated and blind, lashes out with its spear, but Naru uses her tomahawk on a rope to trip the beast, dragging it into the thick black mud. As the creature struggles against the earth, Naru retrieves the predator's own helmet. The mask, she realized, uses a laser-guided targeting system. In a stroke of genius, Naru plants the mask in the mud, aiming its 3 red dots toward the center of the bog. The predator, sinking and desperate, fires its homing bolts. But the bolts don't find Naru. They follow the targeting lasers of its own mask. The projectiles curve through the air, turning the predator's ultimate weapon against itself. The alien is impaled by its own tech, collapsing into the mud it once thought itself above. Naru doesn't hesitate. She delivers the final blow, severing the monster's head with its own retracting blade. The hunt is over. Naru returns to her village, her body painted in the glowing green blood of her enemy. She walks past the shocked warriors and the elders who once doubted her, carrying the severed head of the star-traveling demon. She drops the trophy at the feet of the war chief, along with the French flintlock pistol, a symbol of the new threats looming on the horizon. She isn't just a hunter anymore, she is the war chief's successor. As she looks out over the plains, she knows more thunderbirds may come and more trappers will follow. But as she stands amongst her people, Naru finally knows who she is, the apex predator of the Great Plains.